Hello and welcome to the podcast Self-Realisation. Now what? This is the 10th episode. No, 11th. I'm sorry. I made a mistake last time. So 11th episode. It might be the end of season 1. I'm not sure yet, but there may be a pause for a while. So in this episode, I'm really excited to present to you Ray Bratcher. I came across Ray's podcast and I listened to his episode called Lucid Dreaming. It was wonderful. It's a wonderful, clear illustration of the possibility of consciousness is all there is. And so I invite you to listen to his podcast if you feel inspired by the conversation here. And I hope you enjoy this conversation. All right. So I am here with Ray Bratcher. How do I pronounce that, Ray?
That's correct, Bratcher.
Okay. Ray is doing breath work. He's working with people for session. And I will put the link of all his channel in the description of the conversation. I wanted to speak with Ray because I came across one of his podcasts and I've listened to the whole thing and it made me feel joyful and I resonated a lot with what was said in the podcast. And I contacted Ray to have a conversation about this precise subject. And the podcast, Ray, was about lucid dreaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me a bit about the context when you had the inspiration to record that podcast, how it came to you, and what was the reflection about it in it.
Well, I guess you could say that um, when I started doing breath work, it's kind of a personal growth, self improvement path, and you let go of false limiting beliefs, core negatives, one at a time. In the breathwork school that I was trained in, they would refer to it as peeling the onion, and you're peeling the onion one layer at a time. And I began to, for various reasons, I was wondering, well, isn't there a way to like get to the heart of the root of the ego and with an axe and just chop it down in one fell swoop instead of doing this one layer at a time? Because it seemed like that way just took forever.
Yes.
And um, and so that's what brought me to altering the rebirthing process to something that I was guided to call sacred breath, and that got to the root of the ego and cut it in one fell swoop. But part of that process was feeling the energy in the body and dealing with core negatives not as thoughts that you work with trying to overcome, or doing affirmations to try to convince yourself that they're not true and that kind of thing, but working with it strictly as energy, purely as energy in the body. And then as you're going about your daily life, whenever you have a perception arising in your perceptual field of something that you're judging as wrong or bad, that has a corresponding effect of a kind of an energy that you can feel arising in your body. And then you deal with that energy there on the spot. And it shows you that what you're judging as bad in your perception is just a label that you're putting on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of led to the insight that all of these apparent proofs, or where evidence seems to arise in our daily life that we're separated from source, they're false evidence. It's misleading evidence. It's not true, which means basically you're living in a dream world that's telling you things that are not true because they're just a dream. And I've had not lucid dreams are not all that rare. Lots of people have had them. And
Mm-hmm.
I've had 2 or 3, but there was one in particular where I really saw in the course of the lucid dream how the your consciousness interacts with the um, unreal things coming into your senses. Like it's not real. It's a dream. It's
Mm-hmm.
obviously not real. And you're having a kind of your consciousness is interplay. There's an interplay between your consciousness and this world that you've created that's completely made up. It's just a dream.
Mm.
And I saw like this 1-to-1 correlation of the lucid dream that you have at night when you're asleep and the dream that you have during the day when you think you're awake and you're walking around in your town or village
In your dream world.
in your dream world.
Yes.
And so that was why I started talking about how lucid dreams work on that podcast.
Yes, and it resonated a lot with me. And I love hearing you about the breath work, how it is you go directly to the sensation, and there is no label, there's nothing, there's no story about it. It's a sensation, and it can be felt.
Right.
And it seemed that this can bring someone to be really aware.
Yeah.
Oh, there's that thought, there's that sensation. And if I go directly to the sensation, is there really anything really wrong?
Right, exactly. And the breathwork sessions get you totally relaxed. So you're not efforting to make anything happen. You're not fighting anything. You're not trying to um, force yourself to think the way you think you ought to based on what people are telling you or what self-improvement books you've read are telling you you're supposed to do. You're just totally relaxed. You're not trying to make anything happen. And then because you're totally relaxed, the negative thoughts that you've kept stuffed down your whole life can gently come to the surface, but they don't threaten you. You know, you originally suppressed them because you didn't want to look at them because they felt threatening or they were
Mm-hmm.
fear-induced for some reason. But now you're completely relaxed and they just come up and you just observe them as energy. And people can have like insights to how that all started and why there's no necessity to hang on to it anymore. You know, that maybe they've been working on it their whole life and never could have any kind of a breakthrough, and then suddenly it's easy. It just happens because you're just completely relaxed and you're just watching the energy play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In my experience, there was a realization that I I could see and realize that when I engage in my thinking, I was asleep, that I was just falling asleep into thinking about reality, but what thinking about reality is not reality.
Mm.
So we can say
The map is not the territory.
yes. So the dream is the same principle. I like this analogy of the dream. You suddenly realize, oh, okay, I am dreaming this, and I had to smile when you brought the question in your podcast. Should I try to wake up the other character?
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting when we start to look at that from that angle. Can the character be awakened? And what was the felt sense when you were in lucid dreaming? I'm speaking about that instance when you were in the lucid dream, awake in the dream.
Uh, so when when I woke up inside the dream, you mean,
Yes.
and the dream continued, but I now knew that I was dreaming. I looked around like this is a dream.
Yes.
Um, the the main thing that I noticed was that I suddenly had greater access to my total consciousness than I did before I woke up. In the lucid dream, I was trying to get this document to some lawyer's office in Colorado, and that was like the only reason for my existence. That was the only thing that mattered. It was this hugely, it was this quest that I was obsessed with. And um, and it felt like I was perfectly normal. I mean, I felt like in the dream character had felt like it was me, normal, me, everything's great, everything's fine. I just got to do this. It's really important. I was getting irritated that other people didn't seem to realize how important it was. Nobody seemed to care. Then after I woke up in the dream, I'm still dreaming, but now I know it's a dream and I'm awake. It was like the guy sleeping in the bed, suddenly instead of having access to like 10% of his consciousness, I had access to all of his consciousness. So now I was like more fully myself, and I knew, you know what, this piece of paper is not all that important. I mean, it wasn't just because it was a dream. And now I know it's a dream, so it doesn't matter at all because it's not real. But because I'm like, even though I know it's a dream, I'm playing along with the dream. And even within the context of the dream, it wasn't all that important. It was just the dream character before I woke up was like the little tiny aspect of me that's concerned with doing things right and doing what you're supposed to do and getting jobs done. And that was the entire consciousness. There was nothing else. And I had access to more consciousness, and I realized that wasn't that important. And so I think when you wake up in this world, you have access to more consciousness. So you're not so tightly identified with the pre-awake consciousness that is
fully engaged in the
fully identified, because it needs to do that in order to maintain the separation.
yes
Yeah.
yes it needs to achieve things,
Yeah.
go somewhere, and it's very important.
Because now is never good enough. It always has to get to the next moment to make it better.
Yes, because it feels like something is missing, and in reality something is missing. Our true expensive non-separate
Yeah.
identity is unknown or unrealized.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like the harder the ego searches for that, the further away from it gets.
Yes, it's the search that is taking us away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
this, yes,
so that's like, getting into all the details of like how I went from rebirthing breathwork to sacred breath and peeling the onion to cutting the tree and working with the energies and all of that. Before we get lost in the weeds, I just want people to know that what we're talking about is the end of suffering. Because
yes,
99% of human suffering, you generate it yourself. You do it to yourself. And I think if people could just find a way to stop doing that, even if they don't wake up, you can still stop doing that, and the vibrate. If everybody did it, the vibration of the world would skyrocket, because we'd not
yes,
all be generating so much suffering for ourselves all the time.
yes. It's in myself. It feels we are fueling the suffering with our own consciousness, our own energy, and so we're doing it to ourselves without knowing.
Every time someone comes to me for sessions, it's just hard to get the image out of my mind of Ray Bradbury's poem about Christ crucifying himself. He's on the cross with his hand on the board, and his other hand has the hammer and is driving the nail in. We're crucifying ourselves, And people
Mhm.
come to me, and basically my job is to get them to stop doing this.
Yes.
Doctor, it hurts when I put this nail in my hand. Well, then stop putting the nail in your hand. Oh,
Yes.
wow, you're amazing.
Yes. I I heard in when realization came upon me, like, oh, maybe there's something else than just this me identity. There's always someone in the middle of the problem, and it's me. Isn't it bizarre that I am always in the middle of it? And I heard in a book, it's as if you're turning the pipe of water on your head and you're wondering why you are wet. So it's very, very simple to start to be aware of that. And then it seems that through this process, the tendency to do it loosen more and more.
Yeah,
It's as if you realize that it takes effort to suffer.
that's a good point. Yeah, you have to work at it.
And you start to, because I invite people to practice being effortless, residing in effortlessness, allowing this vibration of effortlessness, spontaneity to be here. And it's weird because I say, yes, it's weird that we have to practice that, but we've been practicing effort for so long.
Yeah,
It's kind of having, we start to relax that muscle of effort.
yeah, yeah. I guess we it's like we get into a habit after a whole life devoted to that.
Yes, we are very well trained and habitual. Yeah, and everything is pointing. Um, we're bombarded with this idea that we have to make effort to be better, to go somewhere, achieve and attain things, even enlightenment or awakening. So I like this image of the lucid dream, and then so it doesn't mean that the dream is not continuing to happen. It's just that the investment in needing to change it or manipulate it, it drops. It's
Yes, and I think also it's like if you know when you know you're dreaming and that it's not real, the suffering goes down because you don't see it as a threat and you don't identify with the idea of the suffering dream character.
yes, yes, and that seemed to have an effect on the energy field, obviously, because if I was totally identified with me. I needed to be understood and be seen and be recognized. And I was creating suffering because I was constantly projecting on my partner that he needed to understand me and to see me and love me. And
And
those
change.
demands, they could never be met because it's illusory to put onto someone else the happiness that you're looking for. And as I stopped doing that, I started receiving love and understanding. So I was astonished. Now I'm not doing anything, and everything that I wanted to have, or the separate me wanted to have, is now coming in.
Well, yeah, because you have thoughts that something needs to change, and that places a certain kind of energy in your energy field, which then attracts anything that's going to resonate with that energy. So you bring more. What you resist persists, right?
Yes, you
You
bring
bring
more of
more
it.
of what you're trying to get rid of by trying to get rid of it. So when you just accept, relax, and accept it all, you don't have that energy, and your energy is, instead of trying to push away what you don't like, it's just accepting, and that accepting energy resonates differently than the rejecting energy. So you bring in more into your experience of what you're happy to accept.
Yes. So it's less effort. It's an allowing, and And the thing, if we look closely, the only thing that can be in the way of that is a thought that this is
Mm.
too good to be true.
Yeah, yeah,
That the Garden of Eden is really here. It's available to anyone. And now.
yeah. You can go from the nightmare of the ego to the happy dream of the Holy Spirit, is the way the Course in Miracles puts it.
Yes. Every
And
moment.
the whole thing, like Leonard Orr used to say that what you said just now about it's too good to be true reminded me of this. You know, people, everything will be going great. They'll be thinking about how great everything is, and their thoughts create their reality. So they're constantly bringing in good experiences, and then at some point they say to themselves, "It's too good to be true," and that's a negative thought, and that starts the downward spiral, and things get worse and worse and worse until at the bottom they say, "It's so bad it couldn't possibly get any worse," and that's a positive thought. And then they spiral up and keep having good stuff. And then they get to the top again and they think it's too good to be true. And they go down. And at the bottom, it couldn't get any worse. And they
Yeah.
said people will cycle back and forth between, and it could be a daily cycle or it could be like a 7-year cycle. But generally speaking, people who aren't working intentionally with their consciousness just sort of accidentally cycle up and down between those two thoughts. It's too good to be true, and it can't possibly get any worse.
Yes, and I'm laughing and it's not funny. And I know because I was there. I did suffered through my life from unconsciousness. And when the realization came, the first thing that came to mind is, oh, that's what Jesus meant. They're not conscious. Forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And can we then reside there? Because we may realize this and we get invitation into believing that this is not it, that there is more work to do, that the gift is not really freely given. It's the gift of life, just life being
Yeah.
already whole. What I find magical is when we start to be able to reside there when we meet in the form, in in the in our separate unique expression. That brings it to a whole new level to have this relative experience from that open space of being. I would like to hear about your thoughts about that.
You mean like when like two people meeting and like we're both uh I think it elevates the quality of the relationship and interaction if both people are able to like not come at the interaction from a place of fear and separation, but from a place of knowing you're speaking to yourself, and whatever you're saying to them is like the perfect thing for them to hear, and whatever they're saying to you is the perfect thing for you to hear. Um, it, it's like even after awakening, we still have a form. You know, we still use the bathroom, we still have to eat, we still have to sleep. So we're not like ascended masters with light bodies going, disappearing into heaven and coming back. Um, so you honor the form. Um, yeah, I don't know. You honor the form. You deal with the fact that you still have a form. Other people have forms. Um, um, but the interactions between those forms doesn't have to be the competitive, conflict-ridden separate and separating um, kind of energetic, the
Yeah.
relationship that we've been, like the human race has been doing for the past 10,000 years. Because,
Yes.
right? And I feel like we're moving to a new way of being with each other. And um, it, it, there's going to be boundaries. There's going to be for the requirements of your form. And we have to learn how to navigate those with this new understanding. But at least the core essence of it is coming from a place of unity and love,
Yes.
not from a place of fear. And if you get what you want, that's less for me, because none
Yeah.
of that is true.
Yeah.
And I think
Scarcity and yeah.
we're just getting, I think we just have to, it's just a relatively new way of being in the world for
Yes.
most of us. And
Yes.
we just have to learn how to do it.
Ye yes, yes, it's extraordinary, and what I feel is that the underneath ground, the ground of those relationship is equanimity, equality, no hierarchy, because if you don't adopt this idea of separation, there is no one that is better or worse. So we're all equal and unique expression.
Right.
And each unique expression is as beautiful as the other one. It's not that your own expression is better and this expression is not good and that one is better. So the foundation of those relationship is, and you, it's beautiful to realize that even if you are, if if I am alone in that, but everyone I meet from there. And when two-person or more are consciously meeting from there, that's where I feel the magic is even more. That yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and sometimes I remember Jesus said, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am also. And sometimes I would notice, like, you could be in a group that's like a Bible study group or a Course in Miracles study group or a meditation group. And sometimes you could feel the energy shift. Like everybody comes in and they're all egos and stressed out. And then you sit for just a few moments and the energy in the whole room will just shift. And everybody has risen up to a higher level.
Yes. Yes, I've had that experience as well in training, where I trained to become a deep coach. And deep coaching foundation is presence. And as we met, everyone got nourished
Yeah.
from there. And it feels like in myself awakening, it feels like you have to go in it alone. No one will give it to you, no one can take you there, and at the same time we're walking each other home,
Yeah.
both.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's kind of like you can um, show people the door, but they have to step through it.
Yes, yes, and then also realize that there is no door, that really, yeah, there is this impression at some point I had this feeling in myself a year or so ago that I want to cross this. There's something that I seem to have to cross, and I really want to, but there was this impression that there was an edge that I couldn't go through this. And then at some point, there is this realization, okay, it's the gateless gate. Um, I am building this wall, and I feel that I need to cross it. So it's even to even get to that point that there really is nothing
Yeah.
to cross. It's already full. But there is a process because we are habitually engage in our opinion and thinking, and I the habitual reflex of I know this.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that in the podcast that you have to let go of all that you know, and that really, like, I felt so joyful when I heard that. I was like, yes, yes, yeah,
That's a well, I think I said it's a small price to pay. You just have to let go of everything you think you know.
yes, and that no, that was never real anyway. So
Right. So it doesn't, it's really not, you're really not giving up anything.
yeah, you're not giving up anything in reality. Well, there seems to be some momentum of awakening. Well, there seems to be that, but in a sense, maybe not, because in my reality, there was none of that before. And now that there was some expansion of consciousness, there is more of that now. So so it's the resonance as well that brings us to meet more and more people that resonate with that same energy.
Um, yeah, it could just be that you notice it more
Yeah.
after a thing. Uh, I sometimes I hear other people saying they think it's happening. I don't know.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
I've
Yeah.
done any kind of a like a scientific study and counted us. So I see
Yeah. There
yeah.
seems it seems to become more accessible. The information is available and it's um
That,
simple.
just people knowing the existence of a different way is
Yes.
by turning on their cell phone
Yeah.
is probably very helpful.
Yes, and if
Look,
there's a yes.
you don't look for what you don't know is out there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Get them started, I guess.
Yes, that's how it came about for me because I was not looking into anything relating to non-duality. I was just done, like, I felt I can't do this anymore. It's too hard. I'm suffering. I don't know why. I don't know what's happening. It doesn't make sense. It started to feel like, well, I'm safe. I have all I need. I have enough food. I have friends. I have It doesn't make sense that I still suffer. And it
Right.
felt quite hopeless, in
Yeah.
fact. Like I can't figure out why and what's wrong with me. Something must be wrong with me because everyone seemed okay. And I'm really, really not okay with this
Yeah, I
suffering.
mean that's actually, I mentioned that on the podcast. I talked about how you've done this for thousands of lives, thousands of lifetimes. You've done this, and if you're listening to this podcast, it's because you've gotten to the point where you're saying to yourself, um, "Something is wrong. There must be a better way."
Yeah.
You just,
Yeah.
we do the same thing over and over and over again, and we still suffer. Like we think, like
Yeah.
if you believe, like I believe in past lifetimes, but I actually think there's no such thing as time, so they actually all happen at the same time. But you
Uh,
might have had like some medieval lifetime where you suffer because you starved to death. So now this lifetime, you're not, that's not a problem. So you think you've got it handled, but you're still suffering. And eventually you realize, well, no matter what,
Yeah.
you're going to suffer. You suffer. And then at a certain point, you just get sick and tired of it. And
Yeah.
this isn't working. And, there's got to be a different way. And that's when people
Yes.
are trying to find that different way.
Yes. It feels as if the mind itself comes to its own exhaustion. Like, ah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it might, yes, I resonate with what you're saying because in my life it felt like I tried everything. I did this, I did that, and I did this, and it's not this and it's not that. And I've acquired this and I thought this would make me happy and it's still not it. And So I was not seeking through non-duality directly. I didn't know anything about that. I never heard of it, but I was seeking happiness like everyone. I was seeking through acquisition and success and achievement, safety.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I felt I was paying a price for that safety, and that was my freedom. So I came upon a book. So yes, it's more available. I came upon a book, and probably also collectively, we're starting to realize if everyone that is rich is, if money was bringing happiness, everyone that is rich would be happy, and it's quite obvious that they're not.
Mhm.
So there is more collective consciousness around these these materialistic. It doesn't mean that it's wrong to have things. It's just that you realize that they're not, it's not the things that will bring you happiness.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Have the things for the purpose and function of the things. You know, um, uh, driving in a Kia or driving in a Lamborghini, either one will get you to where you're going. But having a car is nicer than having to walk if you've got a long distance to go. So the function of it is to let you be able to go a long distance comfortably. Um, if you start to acquire, if you want to acquire the Lamborghini because your ego needs the status inflation of that, then you're not going to find happiness there, even though you might look for your happiness there. So
Mhm.
it's like it's okay to have things for the purpose and function that they're supposed to have in your life, but not to look to those things for the source of your happiness, because that's never, because you're not going to find it there.
Yes, and then inversely and quite amazingly, it feels here that everything is more appreciated. Like this little plant is, I'm grateful for that plant. I'm grateful for the phone. I'm grateful for the microphone, which before there was never enough things, so I needed more things.
Yeah, because you're focused on the now, so you
Yes.
can gratitude and appreciation arise in the now.
Yes, and when there's nothing to find, there's nothing to achieve, it feels like it's enough. There, everything is enough already. So it's yeah, it's a beautiful. I really hope people can see the simplicity of it and start to investigate directly what is my experience and where is suffering when I don't identified with the thought or the emotion or myself, me, where there is it's there is less energy. I feel the relaxation of adopting this identity that I have to protect and defend frees your energy to do something else, like talking on this podcast right now
Yeah,
for no
exactly.
reason other than enjoyment and sharing.
Yeah, because and if you don't have gratitude and appreciation for what you have now, then you're thinking about how it could be better in the future. So your mind is in the future, which hasn't happened yet, while your life is taking place in the present. So you're actually absent from your life.
Mm.
And people can spend their entire lives being mentally in the future and not present while their life is, they miss their own lives.
Yes, yes, yes. That was my case. I was often. It's a mechanism that I've learned, and then that I had learned is to. I was always projecting in the future. It will be all right if I control this. If I achieve this, then I will be all right. The search for comfort or safety or so
Yeah.
as I was projecting always in the future, my partner was telling me, "Could you just stop?" before bringing on another project and another things to do and another place to go. So he was already more present than I was. And I told him that recently, that he said, yeah, I was trying, but here I was always looking for the next moment. And at some point I realized, could I accept to receive what is already here? This idea that my partner was not giving me enough of understanding or gift or whatever I was expecting of other, can I start to see that he's giving, in fact, a lot, and that I'm not seeing it? And that really started to change things, because I could now see, oh yeah, wow, what a beautiful gift. He's very
Mhm.
thoughtful. He bought me a nice gift, and prior I would be like, I would need a better gift or more gift. And
Or
then I started to see allowing this to be enough. And in that, it's becoming more and more beautiful. Mm. So when was this lucid dream?
when did I have it?
Yes.
Oh, no, I don't remember. I don't know. Not in terms of like a year. Um, um, the I had the dream before my awakening, and then after my awakening, I realized the connection between lucid dreaming and awakening, and saw that it was and began to think, maybe like um, our dreams and our lucid dreams are like little alarm clocks or Easter eggs in a video game that we as consciousness pre-plant, is like to wake. I'm okay. I'm going to go into this dream and hallucinate that I'm separated from source and everybody's an ego separate from me. But at some point, I want to wake up. So I'm going to leave myself little clues,
Yes, breadcrumbs, eh?
breadcrumbs, so I can find my way back. And so after the awakening, I was like, that was a breadcrumb.
Yes,
And
yes.
people, even if you haven't had a lucid dream, I think you can, it's easy enough to find, look up, go on, Google lucid dream, and it's not that hard to understand. And people that even people that have not had a lucid dream could um,
Feel
use it as
into
a
it.
metaphor for understanding awakening. And it's
Yes,
a
yes,
lucid dream, yeah.
yes. You can.
And podcast. After I had one or two, I looked them up, and actually, I've seen books where you can teach yourself to lucid dream. I never did that. I don't know if it works or not, but if people were interested, they could find that information as well. But so I looked up about lucid dream, and people would talk about the sensationalistic aspects of it, about how once you know you're dreaming, you can take control of it, or you get run over by a car and your body gets all mashed up, but you don't feel any pain, you don't suffer. You're just like, wow, look at this, is really interesting. So those are like the sensationalistic aspects of it, like as a form of entertainment that you can have fun with. But I never saw anybody talking about what to me was the most interesting thing, was the change in consciousness. How
Mm-hmm.
guy in the dream before he woke up was a fraction of the consciousness of the guy in the dream after he woke up.
Mm,
And then, like even in the dream, I was wondering, okay, now I think I'm fully awake. I've got access to 100% of the consciousness of the guy asleep in the bed right now. But a few minutes ago, before I woke up, I thought I was 100% consciousness then.
Yes.
It felt like I was, but obviously I wasn't. It feels like I am now, but how do I know?
Yeah.
I think if we ever completely wake up from the dream and have access to universal consciousness, then we'll realize that um, uh, what we have access to now is not the full story. It's not
Yes.
all of it. There's more.
Yes. Yes, there is more. Yes. How do I know again, eh? Yeah. There is in the lucid dream, in the dream, we don't have the same relationship with time and space. It's possible to there's no physical limitation. You can fly, you can jump. So space
Yeah,
is non-existent in a sense of it's not a barrier, and time is just collapsed. It's you can look at 50 years, it takes a second.
yeah,
And then with awakening, there's these realization around time as well that a thought is just arising now, and those 50 years they now seem condensed to just a moment or a thought.
right.
That I started to have these breadcrumb when I was doing ultra running. I would be running for a very, very long time. And then after during the run, I will never do this again. And then after the run, oh, it wasn't so bad. I could do it again. And the time that as at last like 6 hours now seems to be very just
Yeah,
non-existent.
yeah. Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. Time and space are a lot more fluid, not like etched in granite like they used to be for me. They seem very malleable. Like just
Yeah.
they're not like fixed quantities anymore. They're just whatever you need it to be.
Yes, yes. And space, everything is immediately here. So it's the idea of space, and all of these ideas, they start to be questioned when you start to question the validity of the truth of thoughts,
Yeah,
and where time and space arises with thoughts. I'm going somewhere, I'm doing something. When will this happen? How long will it take? They're not present. They're just yes, there's a difference between presence and the time and space that gives us the idea that we're going somewhere. But we're always here. Even while we're seemingly going somewhere. The body is moving, but I'm always here. There is always this presence here. We
right,
can never not be here. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
it's a beautiful exploration. And if anyone is open, there's nothing to fear in it starting to explore this. In as a young child, I felt held. Not
well,
I felt held by unconditional love as a young child. I never bought into religion and judgment and shame. I bought into it. In fact, I lived it in the in the sense of separation. But as a young child, there was this playfulness and this what are these people really worried about? Like, is it really serious? And I couldn't believe that God was judging us. I always felt that we were held in love, that there was nothing wrong, that we did nothing wrong. And our
yeah,
being is
yeah,
pure. We did nothing wrong. The mind may tell us you did something wrong. You're wrong. You should be better. You should but that's the realm of separation. That's not the realm of God presence.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I was the way, yeah, I had like, grandmothers. We go visit them for Christmas or Thanksgiving. So I had like grandmothers who were like in very fundamentalist Christian churches, and they had magazines with the end of the world will be tomorrow. But I also had my parents were not particularly religious, but they made my brother and I go to Sunday school because it got us out of their hair for a couple hours every Sunday. And I had the great fortune that the minister, this church was pretty fundamentalist, but the minister was glowing with love. All he ever talked about was love. All he ever he never talked about hellfire and brimstone and sin. He only talked about love. And I think he must have had some kind of genuine mystical experience that just transformed him. So between being exposed to that at a young age, and then like seeing how miserable my grandmothers were that were into this. Well, one of them anyway. The other one, I had a grandmother. She was like, her face glowed, and she was always praying and always talking about love and and we went to spend the summer with her, and I brought my tie. I'm like 8 years old. I brought my tie because I just assumed we were going to be going to church 3 times a week, and we never went. Finally, one Sunday, I said, "Grandma, don't you go to church?" And she said, "Well, the minister, he means well, bless his heart." So she had outgrown her church.
Oh,
She
yes.
didn't
Yes.
go.
Wow.
And so when I would look at these really like these apocalyptic religious take on things, I could never take it seriously. But it didn't bother me. I was like, okay, so that's what they think. I wonder why they think that. It's kind of a weird thing to be thinking, that God is going to, like, torture everybody. But okay, fine. It's like I didn't react against it like a lot of people, atheists, because they react against that childhood, that kind of going through an adolescent rebellion thing. I didn't react against it, but I didn't go along with it. I just sort of like, okay, that's a funny story. I'm not going to buy it, but okay, good. But the love was still there, and trying to, like, turn the other cheek, forgive. What does that mean? How do you do that? And I had some tragic abusive things that happened to me as a child, and I knew that I was supposed to forgive it based on the Bible, but also based on the Bible, I could find loopholes. Well, Peter says slavery is okay, so Paul says slavery is okay, so this is like a primitive tribal religion that doesn't get everything right. So Jesus doesn't really mean for me to forgive this person who abused me. But then I got into the Course in Miracles. Mm-hmm. Miracles leaves you no loopholes. The Course in Miracles, Jesus corners you. And eventually I got cornered to the point where I realized he's telling me I'm supposed to forgive this person who did this to me, and no ifs, ands, or buts. And I got so mad. I was going to throw the book down the toilet, actually, but I belonged to this Course in Miracles study group, and there was this one woman who never missed a class, and then suddenly she disappeared, didn't stop coming. We never saw her for weeks, and then months. And when she finally came back, she had to buy another copy of the Course in Miracles because she'd gotten so mad she had thrown the book in the Potomac River. Mm. She just wanted, she wanted nothing more to do with it. It just triggered her. And then, so she came back, bought another copy, kept coming to class, and then she disappeared a second time. And eventually she came back and she had to buy another copy because she'd thrown her book in the Potomac River again. So there I am, realizing that the Course in Miracles is telling me I'm supposed to forgive this that I had never wanted to forgive and didn't think I could and didn't see how I could. And I got so angry that I wanted to throw the book rip the book up and throw it down the toilet. But then I remembered this woman, and I was like, there is no way in hell I'm paying $100 for this book. So I put it up. I had this really high bookshelf, and I put it on the top shelf behind all the other books, so that in order to, I wouldn't see it every day. In order to, if I changed my mind, I could retrieve it, but it wouldn't accidentally. I would have to make an effort. I have to go get a ladder and climb up there. But every time I would walk around that wall, I could feel it waiting for me, you know? And so eventually I gave in, got the book back, and started working. And this process of forgiveness was not easy.
Mm-hmm.
I tried a couple of times, couldn't do it. Then I tried and did it. But then something happened which triggered me, and I realized I had not done it. I just fooled myself. I had not actually forgiven. And then I finally was able to forgive. And I saw what people mean when they say that forgiveness is for you. Because it was like a huge weight lifted off of me.
Mm.
And that's the first time, I think, probably, that I began to see how the ego keeps us weighted down and tortures us. I mean, it causes us to interpret and see things in a way that guarantees suffering for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing through that so that you realize it's not true.
Yeah.
Is how that generates true forgiveness, which is just letting it all go and bringing. Like I say, it was like it was like a huge weight got
Yeah.
lifted off me.
Yeah. It feels like also the heart opening. Yeah.
The heart opens, yeah, and
Yes.
you see how you've been keeping it shut the whole time. Nobody was shutting my heart.
Mm.
The person who abused me had nothing to do with my heart being closed. That was all me.
Mm.
And so, it's kind of like a way of taking your power back.
Yes. Yes.
Along, yeah. Now
Yes.
you have power to affect your own change and your own healing.
Yeah.
Nobody's keeping you there other than yourself.
Yes. It's really
In that
also
place of
out of victim consciousness,
yeah,
which is taking us our power back. Also, when we hear how can God let this happen, this world, and how it is? It's as if we're projecting God to be outside and separate. So we're
yeah,
projecting that there is a God somewhere that will take care of things, that should take care of things, should take care of me. And
yeah.
but what if God will show in this world through each of us, letting go of this separation identity, of this idea of lack, scarcity, competition, survival, fear, all of these vibration that we are kind of getting tired of. And it seems like the world is spinning faster and faster, and there is more and more suffering. So it's like more are getting ejected of the ride because we can't stay in it. It's like it becomes too
Yeah,
way
and a lot.
difficult.
If you look at the chronology of the past few years, it's you could look at it as things are just spiraling down and getting worse and worse. But I look at it like you just said, things are spinning faster, and it's just becoming more turbulent as it gets ready to explode upwards. And because it's like we're just getting it's going faster, so that more people get more opportunities to see how the old way doesn't work.
Uh-huh.
And part of the waking up process for mass
Yeah.
consciousness. People, a lot of people are saying how they can feel a shift coming in the collective consciousness, and I think the shift is being aided by all these apparent bad things because it's happening so fast and so one after the other. It's like, to me, it's just more turbulence and more energy to break through and push us up.
Yes, it's like it feels also in myself when there was this awakening process, everything surfaced. Like the shame, the guilt, the fear, the anger, the distress. There was like more and more distress that was surfacing as if I was turned inside out. And it feels like the world is turned inside out. And all this ugliness is surfacing. It's not repressed. It's on the top. And I'm not saying that I don't know anything, but it feels the same kind of stuff that happen on a individual level with awakening, where you have to face your shadow. You have to bring the light, bring the light to what it is that you are still doing that is creating your suffering and that of others. It
Yeah.
felt like, yeah, it felt like there had to be some authentic willingness to see everything. But I'm not saying that it's easy. It is simple, and then maybe and then when there is suffering, it's not easy because it's we don't want to suffer. No one wants to suffer. I'm doing kind of the same thing that you're doing, Ray, but I'm doing with emotional work. So I meet with people that are facing these energy because when you stop running to try and find happiness elsewhere, it's possible that you have to face energy in your body, that you have to sit with these energy that are not comfortable, that you've been running away from for many many years. And so that's what I do. I sit with people with allowing this energy to arise and to just be in the space, in the same space that you're working when you are doing sacred breathing, is in the space of effortless being, in non-judgmental open presence, without that has no
Well,
opinion. We're not trying to do anything, we're meeting what's here.
help them just by your presence and being there, because on a subconscious level, at the very least, they're like, well, she's faced this and been fears here and set with the energy, and she seems okay. Probably also, so
Yes.
you're like giving them subconscious reassurance. It's doable, yeah.
Yes, it can be done. It's doable. Yeah, nothing will happen. You will not disappear. You'll still be able to be yourself even more. That's the beautiful gift of awakening, is that you can be yourself. You still
Yeah,
live. You don't retreat from life. You participate. It's like you participate with less barrier and less fear. So there is
yeah,
more participation even. I used to be isolated and working alone and not meeting anyone and miserable because I need connection. I love connection. And now I have more connection and more people in my life. So that's the fruit of it. Huh? It's to
yeah. It's like you yeah, you're afraid of what will happen if you do it, but then are afraid of what you'll give up or what, yeah, what the price will be that you have to pay. But then when you actually do it, you find out it's the exact opposite.
yes, it's the opposite. There is no price. Yeah, it's more the gift is more and more available. All right. So we've been speaking here for an hour. I want to thank you so much for agreeing
I
to
enjoyed
meet
it. Thank you.
and speak about this. I love what I feel most precious in our conversation is to not only bring this to anyone looking, that there is a possibility to start to, I call it, be the detective of your experience, but also even more than that, to see how we can meet together from that foundation of effortlessness and non-judgment and openness. And that I feel is something that you mentioned in a conversation, that we are learning to do this.
Yeah.
I really love how you say we are learning, and it's true. We're learning this new way of being together, and allowing ourselves to learn, to
Yeah.
yeah, to discover and learn how it feels and how it is, how we can be meeting each other in this different space, from a different space. All right, so I will let you go. I will end the recording, but I'd like to keep you for myself for a few minutes.
Okay.
So thank you for participating.
Thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Me too.